Hello, and welcome to the Week 9 edition of the Monster Pod here on The Lines. Matt Brown joined. Oh, what a day it is. You've seen his work over on TheLines.com. You've heard him over on the Gridiron Gamble podcast. But Mo Noir joins me here on the Monster Pod for the very first time. Mo, glad to have you in. I love your opinions on things. Get a differing point of view on some of these games and hopefully maybe put some bets in people's accounts.
Hope so. I have a few this week, but this is another tough week. I mean, it's been a tough season so far, to be honest with you. Just a lot of seesawing, a lot of big injuries, and just when you think a team is dead and buried, like the Jets, they pull out their best performance of the season.
Yeah, no joke. I was on the other side of that one. I still don't hate that one. I mean, kind of the phantom, of the illegal contact, it would have been a turnover on downs, and then the whole game flips on the next, that gets a touch. I don't know. I didn't hate my position there, but I know it's wacky, and certainly we're doing this, guys. Like, I'm on Pacific time, a little bit earlier in the day on Pacific time, so some of the injury reports are coming through, some of them are not. We'll do our best to kind of cipher through that as we go through these games, but just know might not be complete with exactly who is in and who is out this week. But let's kick things off here. Dallas Cowboys and the Atlanta Falcons. This is 3.5 in favor of the Falcons at home over the Cowboys. 51.5 to 52 is our total. Mo, an interesting game just in general, because you have a team in the Cowboys doesn't look like they're going to be completely healthy on the defensive side. It maybe get a piece back in the secondary, but even then they weren't really playing that good to begin with. So what does that mean for them? And then this Falcons team has shown us some really bad performances, some in-between performances, and then a couple of good ones thrown in there in the midway point as well. Overall thoughts here on Cowboys and Falcons?
I like the Falcons. This is one of the bets I did make.
Yeah.
I took the cheap 3.
Yep.
105.3. I think you could have got 2.5 early in the week. Mm-hmm. I think 3 minus 115 is still fine. It starts to get a little iffy when you get past 3 for me.
Yeah.
I did make my fair 4 here. So 3.5, I don't know if I would bet it at that point, but man, how are the Cowboys getting a stop in this game? This defense.
I know.
Like, the Falcons basically do everything well on offense. Like, they can run the ball and they can throw the ball, and the Cowboys can't stop anything at all. They don't put any pressure on the quarterback, especially with Micah Parsons. Sounds like he's not going to come back. So, without him in there, like, that would have been a nice matchup for the Cowboys, with a quarterback who has really struggled at times as far as moving around. Like, obviously he's doing quite well throwing the ball, but now when he's not going to be under pressure and you have a Falcons rushing attack with 2 absolute bulldozers against a team that doesn't really tackle and just doesn't move the line of scrimmage. I don't know, man. I think Dallas was, let me double check, but I think they're one of the last in adjusted line yards.
Oh, yeah.
31st. Like, they're just getting blown off. How are they getting a stop in this game? I mean, I know that Dallas should be able to move the ball as well, but I have enough trust in these safeties to at least get a couple of stops. That might be all they need in this game.
I'm with you. So I played the 3 on the Falcons as well. And for me, we're lockstep as far as should be able to run the ball all day on this Dallas team. And then I saw an interesting graph that was put on Twitter, and man, I really wish I knew who it was so I could give credit where credit is due. But basically over the last couple of games, Atlanta's figured something out on the offensive side of the ball to kind of beat this too high safety thing. And they figured out kind of how to run Pitts in one direction, London in another direction, and Mooney in another direction. And then basically it's okay, if this goes here, then he goes here. And if this goes here, then he goes here. And they having those 3 different weapons that run basically 3 different types of routes and have 3 different types of mismatches when it comes to matchups that I was pretty interested in that too, and he showed some different examples of how Kirk Cousins was able to navigate this the way that basically all these teams are playing defense these days. And so to go along with the rushing attack, if they can convert some of these third downs with what seems like a way that they've figured out how to do it, I just don't know where Dallas gets the stops. And if this is a shootout, I mean, we're looking at a big total. I have way more confidence in the Atlanta offense scoring more times than Dallas.
Yeah, I was gonna point that out. What you said is definitely important. I think sometimes with the high totals, it makes me a little more comfortable laying points, basically, because those points are just less likely to come into play than if this was Falcons -3, total of 42.5 or whatever. So just a pretty good spot for me to lay points. This line is telling us these teams are like not far apart. And I don't think they're like super far apart, but I think the Falcons are clearly better than Dallas and they're at home. So I do not understand why this should be 3. And the markets agrees with us. So looks like we got it in good here.
All right, so let's take a look at a game that is had a lot of line movement here over the last 48 hours. This Broncos and Ravens game. This was as high as 10, all the way down to 8, and now back up to 9.5. As we sit right now in favor of the Ravens at home, 46.5 is our total. There was 2 DNPs in a row for Lamar Jackson. He does get back out to practice today for the Ravens, so we see this thing bounce all the way back to 9.5 here, Mo. I'll admit, I mean, I gambled. I played some of the 9.5 yesterday on the 2 DNPs with it being a back and a knee injury listed for Lamar. Look, we're betting, we're gambling. So I thought that there was, at least a minimal chance that there could be some sort of nonsense going on with him. Doesn't look like that's the case. I don't hate it as it is right now. I certainly wouldn't have put it in had Lamar been 100% healthy. So kind of is what it is. There's still, look, Denver defense is still pretty good. Should make it at least a little bit tough on the Ravens. And I guess if Lamar is at least somewhat compromised, I mean, it was 2 DNPs, right? So if he's at least somewhat compromised, then maybe that works in my favor. But like I said, I put it in on a gamble and it didn't pay off.
Yeah, I don't really like that side very much. I mean, like my raw number for this game would make me think that Broncos are the side, but then I just start to think about Bo Nix on the road, possibly playing from behind in a really tough environment. I cannot back Bo Nix in Baltimore. I just can't do it. Aren't the Ravens just like a better version of the Chargers? They're going to pound the rock and win up front. So that makes me terrified because I watched some of that. I had Broncos in that game +3 against Chargers, and they got destroyed by the Chargers. And I just don't want to sell the Ravens basically off a game where a little bit of bad luck in the sense of, dropped some picks against Jameis Winston. And then also I think getting their corners back is big. I know this past defense has sucked at times, but the corners return to practice here, and I just don't, even if they've been like meh at times, even when healthy, I just don't know how Denver takes advantage.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like I said, I was gambling that maybe Lamar wasn't, going to play, or at least was going to be like super questionable heading into the game. It ended up not being the case. The problem is like I said, you go after Baltimore through the air. Now we're asking Bo Nix to go after someone through the air. That's really not the best formula here for this Denver team. My only hope now on this bet is just that this defense is enough to keep it within somewhat striking distance, and then maybe some sort of garbage time deal at the end gets me inside of double digits. But that's kind of really all I'm looking for here at this point. Yeah,
to be clear, not saying I would play the Ravens at all. I think if you want to bet Broncos, if there's people out there that are liking the Broncos, I honestly think parlaying with the under is probably good there. I do not see how they can win or cover if this gets to be a high scoring game.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. What do we think at all? Like, do you make anything of this Lamar thing? Because I mean, I've seen some people go, okay, well then this is, it's just a big nothing burger. And then I'm kind of like, well, I don't know. Harbaugh did have to lie about it, which I thought was odd because he's like, yeah, it's just a rest day. But then he had to put the back and knee on there, and then he DNPs again on Thursday with the back and the knee. So I don't know. I can't decide whether it's a nothing burger or if there's something to this.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I did not even look into that after I initially saw the DNP because I just assumed it was veteran rest. So I just never even followed up on that because I just figured I didn't see anything last week about him being hurt. So I just assumed it was veteran rest.
Yeah, interesting. Nonetheless, like maybe this is like maybe it's a live betting type situation too. I know people love it when you say, "Oh, hey, by the way, listen to the podcast on Friday and then remember to live bet something on Sunday." I know, like, it sucks, but still, the point being, if you see Lamar does look at least a little hobbled or something, then maybe there's something there from a live betting perspective. Commanders on the road at the Giants. This is out to 4 at most spots now. 44.5 is our total here in this one. The Giants are sticking with Daniel Jones. I imagine this has to be a choice, Mo, that they have to do it because I think no matter what they say, Brian Daboll's worried about his job. I think everybody's worried about their job. And it's like, okay, we can't like go to Drew Lock and then like them, him be the worst quarterback in the league. And then we definitely get fired. So we stick with the dude that we ended up paying the money to. And so here we are. But to be fair, the defensive line at times has gotten to the quarterback and has gotten some pressure. That would be the one kind of shining thing for this Giants team. And there should be maybe a little bit of offense here against the Commanders. What say you?
I would lean Washington here, but my fare is a bit higher than 4. But it's just like you're talking about dead numbers there. So if I was going to play it, I would probably sell it to like 6.5. But I'm not laying it on the road here in a divisional matchup with a rookie quarterback. I will say though, I do think it's a good matchup for Washington. Jaden Daniels, I mean, if there's any quarterback you want to have that's against interior pressure, it's probably Jaden Daniels. He's just going to run away from these guys. I mean, they're not going to hem him in because it's not like they have any real edge rush. It's mostly interior stuff. So I kind of like the matchup for Washington. I like the coaching for Washington. I just think they're doing a great job of getting everything out there. But you're just still talking about a road divisional favorite that struggles in the red zone. I mean, corners that I think are just going to get their butts whooped by Malik Neighbors. So if Daniel Jones has any time at all, maybe just Malik Neighbors over is the play in this game.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's the play. I was shocked. It was 68.5. And I'm just like 68.5 yards. I mean, there's like multiple different ways that this gets there, which is like, I love when I can put a prop in and there's multiple different game scripts where this gets home. It's like, okay, if the Giants are having success, it's probably because Daniel Jones is hitting Malik Neighbors or they're behind so much by the end of the third quarter that all they can do is pass, and you get this like soft coverage with bad corners as is anyway from Washington, and then you get over there as well. So it's like, to me, I'm like, I love that we can literally talk our way into 2 or 3 different scripts where this actually favors Malik Neighbors. I was shocked to see this under like 74.5 when it was a 68.5. I don't know exactly what it is as of this recording, but yeah, I mean, to me, it just seemed like Neighbors was the obvious place to gravitate to in this one.
Yeah, and like I watched the first game pretty closely between these two teams because for some reason that I will never know, here in Omaha, Nebraska, Giants Washington was our local broadcast. I don't know what was going on there, so we had that on one of the TVs. And he was literally the only reason they were in that game. I mean, he had that high-profile drop that cost them the game, but it was just like, how can you even be mad about that when he puts up, 140 yards or whatever, and he's the only thing moving the offense down the field? There is still a 68.5 out there, 69 at a couple places, 70 at a couple places, all the way up to 71 at a couple places, but actually 68.5 still at BetMGM, which we should go ahead and just mention. If you look at the code down below, it's in the graphic that's bordering us right now on YouTube. It's also in the description. We got an exclusive deal going on with MGM where you actually get some extra bonus bets if you sign up using the code down below. It's in the description, so be sure and take advantage of that, because who doesn't like free money, and free bonus bets are what we're going to be giving you here with all that. But you can get a hold of the best number on Malik Neighbors at BetMGM, so be sure and take a look there at that one. The Chargers on the road at the Cleveland Browns. This is down to 1 at a lot of spots, 1.5 at a couple of the others. 42.5 is our total here in this one. Of course, the big news, we know Jameis Winston, quarterback for the Browns, looked pretty competent last week, we could say, I guess. He did lead the NFL in passing yards last week. And so that's an accomplishment some way, shape, or form. And even though they did get dropped, he didn't throw a pick. And for Jameis, hey, that's pretty good. On the Charger side of things, should be a little bit healthier at the wide receiver position. Looks like Quentin Johnston's going to be back. Looks like DJ Chark is going to be back over there. They have been throwing the ball at least a little bit more here of late, where they were just running it basically like at an 80% clip at the beginning of the season. So a little bit more through the air. What do you think about the Chargers heading on the road to Cleveland? Leaning to the Chargers slightly, but nowhere near confident enough to play it. This one, I mean, same idea as I was talking about with the Ravens, where I don't want to sell the Ravens off. I'm not going to say a fake loss, because, the Browns played a pretty solid game. But at the same time, you had Jameis winging the ball into DB's chests. And what if somebody catches those this week? Could be bad weather here. Could be a sloppy grinder of a game. Chargers are a team that I really do think is just going to kind of flatten really bad teams and then really struggle when they go up in class. I don't know what the Browns are, though, like, especially with these injuries on defense, man. I mean, the middle of this they might be just going back to pounding the rock here because there's no linebackers left here. JOK and Jordan Hicks both look like they're going to be out. So I don't know what the Browns are going to have on defense here. So I can't touch either side, I don't think. But if you made me pick, I would just take the Chargers.
Yeah, this so both of the linebackers are going to be out, but the rest of the injury report actually ended up working in their favor. So Batonio's going to go, Zadarius Smith's going to go, Denzel Ward is going to go. He got cleared from concussion protocol. So it actually worked out pretty well outside of that. Oh, they didn't even put Njoku on the final injury report, so he got no designation whatsoever. So again, the best of a bad situation. Obviously, you want your starting linebackers for Cleveland, but everybody else seems like they're going to go for them, including a couple of offensive linemen. So that being said, I'll go ahead and I might be taking the bait here, but I will fully admit, anyone that's listened to the pod throughout the course of the year, all the offseason content, everyone, I'm just down on this Chargers team. I hate teams with no playmakers, and they have no playmakers, and I understand you have a top 10 quarterback, but if he has Quentin Johnston to throw to and DJ Chark and all stuff, I just hate teams with no playmakers. I think this really does come down to how many times does Jameis give the ball to them. And if he gives it to them a couple of times, then yeah, the Chargers are going to win. If he can run on the right side of variance and he only gives it to them maybe once, then I think Cleveland has a really good shot here to kind of hold serve at home. And if they get any sort of lead, I certainly don't trust this Chargers team to be able to battle back from any sort of deficit or anything like that. If there is anything also working in Cleveland's favor and for Jameis, we are looking at a Chargers team that is 31st in the league in pressure. And so Jameis shouldn't be running for his life back there and should have some time to maybe find some of these dudes and whatnot. I don't know. I'm reluctant. I'm reluctant this defense is going to be able to hold this Chargers team down, but I'm willing to be proven wrong. I have a lot of biases against this Chargers team probably coming into play here in this one. I don't like the way they're constructed. So it's just, I can't get past it,
I didn't like this Chargers team either coming into the season, but they've been surprisingly solid.
They have.
I know that the schedule hasn't been the toughest at times.
Yes.
So I just, both these teams are just so hard to read right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe just play alt. Maybe just play Chargers minus 3.5 because if Jameis turns it over, that they might just win by 7, and then maybe if the Browns just win the game, just play Browns minus 3, and you'll get plus 140 or whatever.
Right. Yeah. No. I would like to point out this is the first time that LASIK Jameis has been unleashed, though. That was everyone. We went and got the LASIK, and then he just ended up being a backup forever. This is the first time LASIK Jameis has been unleashed. So he's really getting to see clearly those defenders that he's throwing it to this time. So we'll see how that all plays out. Miami Dolphins on the road at the Buffalo Bills. This is 6, pretty much. Yes, pretty much 6 across the industry in favor of the Bills at home. 49.5 is our total. We do get news. Tyreek Hill is going to go for the Dolphins. There was a little bit of question whether won't he go there in that one. It does look like Amari Cooper is going to be a game time decision for this Bills team, if that matters to you in the handicap. Mo, we see Tua come back last week. At least the offense looked at least somewhat, because when he wasn't out there, it was just the worst offense in the league. At least it looked somewhat decent, looked like an offense. The defense kind of let them down in that game. They were up 10 in the fourth quarter, end up losing the game outright. And then, the Bills have Josh Allen.
Yeah. Thanks for the reminder. I laid it with the Dolphins last week.
I did too, buddy.
Minus 5.5 or something.
I did too. I was sitting here thinking I was home, it was home, but then that happened. Yeah. I was with you.
And then it's when you look at that game and how bad they were defending the run, I'm pretty tempted to play Buffalo here. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me because I don't know if I trust Buffalo to hold a lead against, but they've dominated the Dolphins for the most part. Especially the offense, really. The Dolphins have scored some points at times, but they cannot stop the Bills ever. And now the Bills actually have some weapons, and they're just going to pound the rock. This might be another live betting game. I mean,
yeah,
if the Bills go up, I mean, just fire the under probably. They are just going to
right.
They're going to run it 70% of the time, and it's probably going to work. Like they're probably just going to do what the Chiefs keep doing, which is make it into a success rate game, and then they'll just burn the clock.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's weird when you look at all of the numbers for Buffalo, and it's like, yeah, we certainly would love to talk about Josh Allen, how awesome he is, and he definitely is, and also, but like they're pretty much like the most well-rounded team in the NFL. Like you look at every single metric, whether you believe or don't believe in DVOA, whether you believe or don't believe in EPA or successor or whatever in the hell it is, but they all say the same thing, right? I mean, like they're inside the top 10, 12, and if not inside the top 5 in like every single thing there is on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. So it's kind of like very hard to poke a hole in what Buffalo brings to the table.
Yeah, they're really strong, and Miami might just stink. Like, I just don't know if this team can get a stop. I mean, I wanted to buy in last week because their offense against the Cardinals, and they moved the ball plenty, but when you just cannot get a stop against the Cardinals, I do not know how you're going to get a stop against the Bills. And the Bills' offensive line is so stout, and they are just, James Cook should be minus 220 to score a touchdown probably.
Yeah, he's getting in the zone. That's when you just bet like 2 touchdowns because that's coming for sure. New Orleans Saints on the road at the Carolina Panthers. This is 7.5 in favor of the Saints. 43.5 is our total. News coming through as we're doing this. Derek Carr officially off of the injury report altogether, so he is definitely going to go for the Saints. We know Bryce Young is going to be the quarterback for the Panthers. Make of that what you will. The Saints, though, have a lot of other stuff that they're dealing with. Injuries all over this team, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, Mo. And I just look at the Panthers, and I know it's been everybody's like, let me do the air quote, sharp play kryptonite this year. Everyone wants to back the Panthers. Everyone wants to bet them every week. Then they get the shit kicked out of them every single week. And it's like, whatever, but like, here we go again. There are still some 7.5s out there on the other side of 7 against a Saints team that we're just like, oh, dude, I mean, seriously, it's the Saints. What do we do here in this one?
I know what I did, which was bet Saints -7.
Right.
Somebody is going to have to show me. I got to see Carolina stay within 1 score of an NFL team. Yeah. I mean, I know it's a mediocre team on the road. I don't care. Like, I need to see them stay within 1 score of an NFL team. It's that simple for me. This is. We talked about it on Gridiron Gamble, like Rich Ryan leading the chart. He's like, these lines need to be in 2016 Cleveland Browns territory, where every game starts at 10.5 and then you go from there.
Right.
Because the Saints are a real NFL team again now that they have a quarterback and Olave's back. Like, I know they don't have Rashid Shaheed, but I still think there's enough weapons here for them to move the ball on the Panthers. And how are the Panthers going to score points? I mean, this is a worse team, talent level wise, than the one that started the season and was on its way to getting beat 60-0 if that was a college game. If that was Georgia head coach and Georgia coaching staff, they just would have won 60-0 because they would have just kept running up the score.
I'm with you. I think the only thing that we can almost I can get down with, and like because I just looked it up as we were talking, is. So I guess they're going to wait another week on Jonathan Brooks. Like, I'm seeing the beat reporters saying that, like, yeah, he practiced in full, but from what we're gathering from the coaching staff is they're going to wait another week on that. So that just means another week of full Chuba Hubbard. And despite the fact that this team sucks, they just continue running Chuba Hubbard like well into the third quarter. Like, they don't abandon that until like the fourth quarter every single. His carries is at 14.5. Like, if they can keep this somewhat like respectable for a half or like 2.5 quarters, like he's gonna get 16 or 17 carries in the game because it's just what they do. So I don't know, maybe that's something to look at here. But yeah, I mean, I've been posing this question all week on all the programming I've done, which is why we're at a touchdown, but like, why are we still backing? All the 7.5s have been eaten up. Like, so we're back down to 7. So again, everyone is coming in backing this Panthers team like yet again, and it's like they're going to end up losing by 10. You know, I mean, it's just like it's just what they do.
It's like last week they scored, I think, 2 touchdowns. And like the first one was off a 30-yard drive from a fumble or whatever. And then the second one was when they were down 21 or 28-7 or whatever. Like they just made Bo Nix look like Joe Montana. I mean, this team has all, I've never seen this, I think, in my entire life. Like I've seen some bad NFL teams, but they have like nothing but replacement level players on defense. I mean, that unit is incredibly awful.
Yeah. And the Saints with Derek Carr, like, I mean, an actual NFL quarterback. Now, you could have made me the case had this been Jake Hayner or whatever, whatever. Yes, I get it. Like, you make me the case there, but like, this is an actual real NFL quarterback who is probably just going to take what they give him and just just march down the field and score basically every single drive. If there's a prop, will the Saints score on every first half drive or something? Like, I'm going to play that. Like, I really am. Like, I'm going to play that. Like, that one's something's getting in the account.
Saints first half team total over. Maybe that's the unload play.
Yeah. See, that's a good way to look. I'm going to write that down to look at a little bit later. All right. New England Patriots on the road at the Tennessee Titans. This is 3.5, and this is 38.5. So there's mainly 38s out there actually from a total perspective. I get it. The Patriots won last week. I understand. It still doesn't change the way I view this team. Still doesn't really change the way that I think that they are, basically for the most part garbage, especially with Drake May not being out there. And then the Titans, have we gotten word? Is it going to be Rudolph or is it going to be Levis? Do we know yet?
I haven't seen anything, but is there a material difference between those guys? I'm really not sure.
I think the only difference to me is I might be interested in an over if it's Levis, because he's definitely going to give the Patriots 2 short fields and he might give them 4. I mean, like that's the only thing for me is like maybe a 38 is a little bit too low with Levis because he brings the multiple turnover guarantee to the plate, which like at least Rudolph is only going to give it to you maybe one time.
Yeah, when I was looking at this game, honestly, so I wrote up my anytime touchdown article for the lines every week, and I kind of like Ramondre to score, man. I know it's like plus 160. That seems pretty high to me when you have, I know the total is ridiculously low, but he's definitely back in the circle of trust now. He got 80% of the running back touches, I think, last week for the Patriots, and they're just committed to him, and they're committed to the run. And I don't know. This is a game where, do I want to buy the Patriots off a win? Definitely not. I'm just hoping the Titans win the game because I still have Patriots win total under. The only good unit that's going to be on the field is the Titans defense. But man, this injury report for the Titans is brutal. T'Vondre Sweat has been like pretty awesome for them. Yeah. I think he missed the first 2 practices, multiple other key starters. Yeah, I'm not going to be involved in this game, I don't think.
The Las Vegas Raiders on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals. This is 7.5 in favor of Cincinnati at home. 45.5 is our total. We do get word coming through right before we started recording this. T. Higgins is going to be doubtful, which means out, because if you're doubtful, you're out. And Mo, that like almost removes any interest for me with Cincinnati, because like if you're betting on Cincinnati, you're just betting on the offense because the offense is so incredible, and like Joe Burrow is number 1 in the NFL in basically every single advanced metric that you can look at. You start to go to adjusted EPA, regular EPA, you go like all the stuff that he's been able to do. But now you get it where he doesn't have that other guy. And I think we saw that come into play last week where it was like, oh, Chase did his thing until the defense made the adjustment, decided, oh, never mind, Chase isn't going to just beat us solely. And I'm not saying the Raiders have the personnel to get that done or whatever necessarily, but I mean, they got to win by 8 points, right? I mean, like it's a touchdown. I think this probably just be a sit back and watch for me.
Well, I don't envy your eyeballs then, but I mean, this game is just, it's basically what you said for me. Yeah. The splits are so stark this year. I mean, the Bengals were basically a terrible team without T. Higgins to start the year. T. Higgins comes back. They look halfway decent. I'm not going to say good because the opposition they were beating was pretty dreadful. And then T. Higgins goes out again, and they just get absolutely steamrolled by Philadelphia at home. I know that a lot of that was the defense, but the offense was ground to a complete halt. Like you said, I think they just made some adjustments. I mean, the way I would compare it to, which is what I was talking about with the boys on Gridiron Gamble, it seems like T. Higgins Like, I know that Jamar Chase is probably a better player than T. Higgins, but this might be a situation like with comparing it to like an NBA 3-point shooter who just like is out there, has gravity from the defense, and opens up space for everybody else on the field, because this offense does not look the same without him. The other teams can just kind of bracket Jamar Chase and live with whatever bum tight ends are going to catch eight passes a game from Joe Burrow and just be fine with it. I don't know how the Raiders offense is going to look here, though. It looked a lot better last week with Jacoby Myers. I think that he makes a material difference when the other wide receivers are this bad. But at the same time, this Bengals defense has gotten trucked on the ground, and the Raiders have like the worst rushing attack in like modern NFL history. So I don't know how that matchup is going to go.
Yeah, it's like it's not the like, oh, well, let's just see, you know, like how much this team can like, no, it is actually two horrible units going up against each other. It's like who can out horrible the other is basically what we're going to see here in this one. I and also have this weird conspiracy stuff going on where it's like, hey, look, does Cincinnati come to the conclusion that this season is lost? Do they get rid of T. Higgins like on the trade deadline? Like you're hearing like Vegas is floating Jacoby Myers out there. How much of a role is he play in this one? Does he get a reduced snap count? Because I don't know. I mean, like this is all rumor type stuff that's going on, but I think if you're being a smart organization, you should probably at least think all of this stuff through as well. So yeah, for me, this is a game I'm glad to just kind of put on a rocket and fire into the sun because I don't have anything really to do with that one. Chicago Bears on the road at the Arizona Cardinals. 1.5 in favor of the Cardinals at home over the Bears. 44.5 is our total. What do we make of this Cardinals team? Are they like a good bad team, or are they a bad good team? Because it's like the weirdest way to explain an NFL team. At points when they're clicking, you're kind of like, oh, all right, Kyler to McBride and Kyler to Harrison and whatever. Okay, this could be cute and this could work. And then they just go dead for 3 quarters in a row. So I don't know. What do we think of this Cardinals team? What do you think of this game?
These are two teams that I do not feel like I have a good read on. So I would lean to the Bears, but and that's just based on basically the opposition splits for them. When they have faced defenses that are horrific, Caleb Williams looks good and moves the ball. And when they face like a well-coached unit like Washington. I mean, Washington does not have great players, but I think they're very well coordinated. You know, credit to Dan Quinn. And their offense looked absolutely lost for that entire game, basically, until the last 8 minutes or whatever it was. So, yeah, I lean to the Bears because I just think they're a better, more talented team. And you're not talking about exactly playing in a raucous environment here. So but this Cardinals team, I can't. It seems like every game they win as underdogs or they lose by 20.
Yeah. I hate teams like the Cardinals where it's like they give me this glimmer of like, oh, okay, that's what this team could be. And then they will go 25 straight minutes of game time and look like the complete opposite of what that glimmer was that I saw with all of them. And so like, I don't know. I'd love if they were a bigger, I would love it if they were a 3-point dog in this game or something like that would be fun for me. Kyler scrambling around and getting garbage time points for you and all that is like, that's amazing. But yeah, as a favorite, there's just not a lot for me to grasp onto here. I mean, the total seems about right. Like everything about this, like, I guess is just really unappealing to me from a standpoint. Like I don't even love any of the I don't know. There's just nothing here for me.
Yeah, I'm just totally off this one, I think. And it's like you said, the Cardinals are just, you never even know what they're doing. Like they'll go, 3 quarters in a row without targeting Marvin Harrison, and then they'll throw, 8 targets to Marvin Harrison randomly last week, and he goes off. And it's like, I'm sure fantasy managers are losing their minds over it. I mean, I'm one of them. I don't, but it's like, what can you do?
Yeah, I don't know. And that's why, like, I just don't. I hate offenses like that. I hate trying to handicap teams like that, to be honest with you. Jags on the road at the Eagles. Eagles are on the other side of a touchdown. 7.5 at home here in this one over the Jags. 45.5 is our total here in this one. Christian Kirk out for the season for the Jags. I guess Brian Thomas is going to try to give it a go, even though the initial reports out 3 to 6 weeks or whatever, and then now it's like he's going to play the same week. So, again, we'll see how this all this all turns out. Obviously a prime teaser leg for a lot of people out there. This just gets this down to 1.5 if you wanted to go that direction. I kind of played it somewhat like that. So I don't play the traditional teasers anymore because you can play just the alt line parlays and get a better price. And so I took the 7.5 down just to 2.5. I only asked the books for 5 and was able to pair that up whenever the Chiefs were still at 8 down to the 2.5. And so that's the kind of alt line parlay that I have in the account this week. You can still do that with the Eagles, but the Chiefs game's out of control now. It's all the way out to 9.5. So that doesn't exist anymore. Maybe there's another leg that you can find that you like, but that's how I played this one, Mo.
I reluctantly took the Jaguars here, but I think it's like you said earlier about having multiple ways to get to the window. I do think the Jags can get there multiple ways here. I think they could just make this a close game like it was against Green Bay, and I also think the back door should be wide open against this Philadelphia secondary, man. I know their numbers for the season are like okay, but I just have been really unimpressed with their secondary. Their corners, I mean, Darius Slay, I haven't seen whether he missed practice again, so this is me efforting and checking. But yeah, double DNP, that's not good. Multiple rookies possibly starting. And yeah, I did not see that the Brian Thomas situation was a Michael Pittman type situation where they initially were talking about IR and then he just plays. But
Yeah. Right.
I saw that he practiced, so I'm just assuming he's going 7.5. I think it's a little bit too much. So I reluctantly backed the Doug Peterson revenge game, but I do not feel good about it.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that we can both cash this ticket because it wouldn't surprise me to see, an Eagles field goal win in this thing. So, I think we can both cash the positions that we have. I will say this, and granted, I was very high on the Eagles coming into the season, so I'm trying to look at this through rose-colored glasses because I have such an incredible amount of money invested on this team. But I did like what I saw last week from an adjustment standpoint. Now, I do understand they only had one guy to have to adjust to, which was Jamar Chase, so I get that. But I mean, if you're the Jags, are you really? I mean, if you're the Eagles, are you worried about Gabe Davis? I mean, I'm not. So maybe you really only have to make that adjustment to Brian Thomas. So I don't know. I'm reluctantly optimistic for this Eagles defense. That said, I am also of the mindset that I could watch this game and be beating my head against the wall going, oh my God, it's the same old shit over and over again. So that said, I will credit where credit's due. I did like what I saw last week from them.
Yeah, they played a strong game. I mean, people that I like that I think, I respect their opinions were all over the Eagles. So I was more lukewarm on that one. So, they were definitely right about that one. But the Jags are actually strong up front. So I think this is going to have to be an aerial attack, and it could work out, obviously, how bad this secondary is. But Jalen Hurts, I think, is going to have to pass to get this one over.
Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers, the very interesting, hotly contested, and opinions on all over the place here on this one. It is down to 2.5 pretty much across the board. Now, it's an expensive 2.5, but it's still cheaper than if you bought off the 3. 47.5 to 48 is our total in this one. So, Mo, I do a show on Sunday evenings. I'm betting opening lines. I'm reacting to what I saw during the day. I have a bad number in my account. I have the 3 on the Lions in the account. Now it's down to 2.5. I was watching Jordan Love, and the hobbling, the trying to play through it, and then ultimately succumbing to what was now described as a groin injury and not being able to finish the game and all this stuff like that. I'm like, dude, there is no way this guy is going to play. And if he does play, he's going to look like total ass because he's hobbling around like a 70-year-old man out there on the field. How can we back this guy? Well, I mean, that's why they're super athletes, I guess. And so here he is back at practice, going to play. This goes off now all the way down to 2.5 now at this point. That said, what do we expect from Jordan Love? It's a groin injury for a dude that does rely on his mobility and escapability at times.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best at getting away from sacks, one of the best at, throwing under pressure, although he can make some very boneheaded decisions at times when he does that. But yeah, I'm leaning Packers here, man. I mean, I don't know. This offense has been very good. This coaching staff kind of pantsed the Lions last year. I think it was on Thanksgiving. I think I had the Packers plus 7.5 in that game, and they won pretty easily outright, if I'm remembering right. So I think they know how to attack this Lions defense. But I don't know. It's like you said, I don't know if I can actually bet the Packers, because what if Jordan Love just isn't ready to go and he tries to go? That might be even worse, because given what the staff has done with Malik Willis, I mean, you have to be so impressed with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, that is like, masterclass of how they've like turned that dude into something. I mean, that's kind of the deal with me is I'm almost, and this is going to sound, I think it's going to sound wacky to most people out there, but I sound wacky to a lot of people whenever I handicap games. I actually kind of hope it's Love, because I would rather have a compromised Love than just like Malik Willis doing like weird Malik Willis things and stuff, whatever. So like, I'd almost rather have a compromised Love than a full strength Malik Willis, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, and it maybe kind of depends on the game state too, because if they can take a lead, that's obviously very, very helpful for Willis. This one could also be classic Jared Goff outside, 10-mile-per-hour winds, and I'm seeing definite rain in the forecast here. So that would make me a bit nervous from the standpoint of backing the Lions. I also just think, man, this Lions team, their market rating has to be at its absolute peak. I mean, they're just crushing people every week.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. This is like, maybe I'm just a little too biased on this, but I almost wonder if the weather stuff, and with that two-headed monster that they have at running back and that offensive line just kind of mauling people and stuff and things like, not that Green Bay's run defense is bad by any stretch, but I mean, it's middle of the pack. I just wonder if the Lions can kind of control that as well, if they had to abandon the pass game script and go to that. Anyway, regardless, I have a bad number, and I'm kind of hoping that it is the starter, which is weird, instead of the backup, because I'd rather have a quarterback with a groin injury in there that relies on mobility a lot than Malik Willis doing the weird stuff that they've done with him and figured out how to make that work. It's just the craziest thing to me. Los Angeles Rams on the road at the Seattle Seahawks. This is 1 in favor of the Rams on the road. 47.5 to 48 is our total here in this one. And I want to read the exact quote, because I did at least pull this one before we got going, because this came out before we started recording, Mo. So Sean McVay on Puka Nakua's knee. Fortunately, there's nothing structurally wrong. He'll be listed as questionable, but I wouldn't bet against this guy. My expectation is he's going to do everything in his power to be ready to roll, and that's the mindset we have. If you guys weren't following this, Puka Nacua left practice because of the same knee that kept him out for 4 weeks, and now they're saying that he's actually, he didn't say he's going to go. He is optimistic that he will give it a try. I mean, like, what the hell does that even mean? I'm optimistic that he will do everything that he can do, Mo. Well, yeah, I would like to think so. I'd like to think that he will try to do everything he can do.
Well, I was amazed what happened last week. I mean, they're acting like he's on the border of even playing, and he looks like a superstar. So
it certainly took me by surprise, because I had the other side of that, like thinking there was no way. With the 10-day break, I was like, they're gonna wait the 10 days and then they'll bring him back. And it's like, instead we get the no Hawkinson and the whatever, this, that, and the other. But yeah, I know he looked like an all-star out there.
Yeah, and I kind of leaned Vikings too. I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger on that one. Everyone loved the Rams last week, and basically they covered for everyone, and that's kind of why this is my contrarian special of the week, man. I took the Seahawks at home here, getting points, which I don't think is right. I feel like these two teams are just very evenly matched, so I don't think the Seahawks should be getting points at home here. I don't they have a better quarterback too? Like, Geno Smith has been better than Matt Stafford this year, I think. So
yeah,
certainly a quarterback I trust more under pressure. So we'll see if Seattle can get any of that. I'm just terrified this run defense is going to get absolutely trucked by a very, very good Rams rushing attack. But even still, that kind of plays into, like, if you're facing the Rams, wouldn't you rather they just pound the rock than throw the ball to Puka and Cooper Kupp?
It seems like, are we believing McDonald that DK Metcalf is going to play? Or are we just saying, is this just coach speak stuff that's going on?
Man, I hope not, because that was playing into why I took the
Yeah.
Seahawks too. When he's practicing, I'm just like, okay, I'm guessing he's going to go. This guy is a cyborg, apparently. So maybe he can do it. Yeah, do I want to fade Matt Stafford? Not really, but still, it's outside and just, it could be, again, rainy. It looks like every game has rain in the forecast this week. So I don't know, honestly, which side that plays into here, but the Seahawks, this is just classic stock high, stock low, where the Rams just basically trounced the Vikings last week.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you have a Seattle team that just literally tripped over themselves against the Bills. Like, literally on 4th and 1, Geno Smith just falls down over a lineman's foot and then is like hitting the ball in frustration instead of scrambling back up in the middle of the play,
Yeah.
I mean, they found a way to get to the 5 twice and scored 3 points between that and snapping it 20 yards backwards. So they played one of the worst games, if not the worst, that they're going to play all season. So I'm just going to try to buy the bounce back here at home.
Yeah, if DK Metcalf goes, I would be leaning towards the Seahawks. If he doesn't, I think it'd just be a pass for me, because it did look a little wonky at times without him out there. He just adds so much of a different dynamic to, because obviously Lockett is half washed, if not fully washed at this point, and so he just adds such an incredible dynamic to the team. So I'm going to wait. We're doing this. Those are 2 West Coast teams. We don't have official practice reports yet, all of that. So that's the disclaimer in all of that. If DK goes, I probably will be on the Seahawks. If he doesn't, it'll probably just be a pass for me there on that one. Indianapolis Colts and the Minnesota Vikings go on Sunday night. This is 5.5 out there in favor of the Vikings. 46.5 is our total. Mo, we know the big news out of this one, which is Anthony Richardson has been benched. They're going to go with Joe Flacco. I can't say that I blame them, because they think they can make the playoffs. And if you're talking about who gives you the best chance of making the playoffs, it's probably Joe. Actually, not probably. It's definitely Joe Flacco. Anthony Richardson has some work to do. News coming through as we were recording too, officially off of the injury report and will play. TJ Hawkinson will make his season debut for the Vikings this week. That said, this was on 6. The news comes out that they go to Flacco, and everybody buys the 6s, which lets you know what the market thinks about the quarterback situation as well.
Yeah, and you understand why. I mean, although at times his teammates have let him down as well for Anthony Richardson. I mean, that drop by Tyler Goodson was horrific last week. But yeah, I get it. I kind of lean Vikes, but not really one I'm looking to play here. This is a game where you might rather have Anthony Richardson. I mean, you're going to see some exotic blitzes from the Vikings, and Joe Flacco obviously can't move. Anthony Richardson was escaping pressure routinely last week against a strong Texans pass rush. I am getting a little worried that the Vikings defense might be starting to get figured out. Like we saw the back half of last season when their scheme was basically, as teams got more and more tape, it kind of seemed like they were figuring out what to do against Flores. This is going to be on Flores to make the right adjustments earlier this year. I think that he's smart enough to do it. Obviously, he's a tremendous coordinator, but yeah, I'm a little worried about their defense in that sense. So this is one that I don't really have much of an opinion on.
Are we being silly and not just saying just bet every ladder on Justin Jefferson there is on the face of the planet and just go with that, and that's your bet in this game? Because the Colts actually defend the run pretty decent, and so it's okay, well, how about we just take the best receiver on the planet and just throw it to him 15 times in the game and see what happens? Probably a pretty decent formula.
Yeah, Grover Stewart is a monster against the run for the Colts, but their cornerbacks are really, really bad. So yeah.
It's I think that might be I get it. It's high. It's 84.5, but he's either going to go under by 20 yards because they figure some way to box him up, or he's going to go for 125. You know what I'm saying? Or he's going to destroy this, right? So it's they either figure out how to box him in, or he goes nuclear. I don't see anything where you have to worry about the 85.5 actually. So it's I would probably play ladders on this, like up to 120 probably on Jefferson, if that's the way that you want to go with it.
Yeah, Jefferson should he has a dream matchup, obviously. Another one to maybe look into is I could see Michael Pittman having another decent game here. If I don't know what the number is going to be, but I imagine it's not going to be that high.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco actually throws him the ball, so that's a big difference, obviously, there.
Guys, everything we do absolutely free, so please hit that subscribe button down below. Of course, upper right-hand corner of thelines.com, you'll see a button to join the Discord. Always people in there chatting every single sport, not just NFL, every single thing that goes on all year long. Got some cool personalities over there, so go in, join the chat. Of course, Mo is a very active person in the Discord as well. He'll answer questions and things and whatnot, so be sure and take advantage of all of that. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up and let us know in the comments, what game did we get totally wrong? What game did we get totally right? What is your opinion on some of these out there? Do appreciate that. And take advantage of that BetMGM offer. It's a bigger bonus than you're getting anywhere else. So just go ahead and take advantage of the bigger bonus. For Mo, I am Matt. Good luck on all your Week 9 bets.